The Great Depression, a time of hardship and innovation.
From weird concoctions to odd pairings, the Great Depression era welcomed some of the most eccentric meals in history. So let's talk about the 20 weirdest meals people ate during the Great Depression. Number 20, the Great Depression Casserole. Gather around as we dive headfirst into the gastronomic time capsule that is the Great Depression casserole. In a kitchen filled with clinking of cans, the remnants of last night's dinner, and a dash of culinary creativity, the Great Depression casserole wasn't just a meal, but a survival strategy, the unsung hero of frugal dining during one of the toughest times in American history. This culinary gem was a hodgepodge of ingredients that would make your grandma's pantry jealous. Canned goods? Check. Leftovers from who knows when? Double check. The Great Depression casserole was a jumbled feast of flavors, made from scraps and a need to make every last bit matter. Think about adding some mystery canned meat you've been avoiding, some leftover veggies from yesterday's dinner, a can of beans, a handful of rice, and maybe some other ingredients. The result is a hearty, if not surprising dish that brought families together around the dinner table with an understanding that though times were hard, they were easier together. It's like a potluck with a side of thriftiness that would make even the most seasoned penny-pinching cook nod in approval. Every family had its own variation, its secret combination of odds and ends that somehow miraculously turned into a comforting meal. Next time you're about to toss out those random canned goods and leftovers, think twice. Who knows? You might just be on the verge of creating a modern-day casserole masterpiece that pays homage to the determination of those who came before us. Number 19, Kraft Mac and Cheese. Let us now uncover a cheesy secret from the past that still graces our plates today. Kraft Mac and Cheese. That's right, the iconic blue box of cheesy joy that became a symbol of comfort and simplicity. But did you know it made its debut during the Great Depression, becoming a source of hope in those challenging times? Let's explore together how this little package of goodness got into our kitchens and hearts. Think about the Great Depression, a period when families tightened their belts literally and figuratively, and culinary creativity reached new heights. Here comes Kraft Mac and Cheese, introduced in 1937 by Kraft Foods. This affordable and easy-to-prepare meal quickly became a staple for households across America, providing a sense of normalcy and comfort when everything else seemed uncertain. The magic happens when you open that iconic blue box. The instant aroma of the cheese powder, the anticipation of perfectly cooked elbow macaroni. It's a mouth-watering experience that you can enjoy anytime and anywhere. Who would have thought that this humble combination of pasta and powdered cheese would evolve into a cultural phenomenon? During those tough times, a warm bowl of Kraft Mac and Cheese became a simple pleasure, a source of comfort that went beyond a sustenance. Families gathered around the table, sharing stories, finding comfort in the familiarity of that vibrant blue box. It was a warm hug, reminding people that even in the face of hardship, a small bowl of cheesy goodness could make everything feel okay, even if just for a short while. Fast forward to today, and Kraft Mac and Cheese remains a beloved classic. Its legacy stretches across generations, proving that comfort doesn't always need a lavish spread. In every bite, you're tasting not just a meal, but a slice of the past, a reminder that even in the toughest times, a bit of cheesy comfort can go a long way. Number 18, Ketchup, Mayonnaise, and Onion Sandwich. All right, this is a dish that will make you question everything you thought you knew about sandwiches. We're shining the spotlight on a legendary creation born out of simplicity, thriftiness, and sheer desperation. The Ketchup, Mayonnaise, and Onion Sandwich. This one's a game changer, challenging the very definition of what constitutes a satisfying meal during the Great Depression. Go back to time when pantries were sparse and creativity was the only abundant resource. Presenting the Ketchup, Mayonnaise, and Onion Sandwich, a culinary marvel born out of a desperate attempt to survive on limited supplies. It was a sandwich born in the midst of hardship, where every spread of mayo and squirt of ketchup mattered more than ever. Now let's break it down. 2 slices of bread, a generous squeeze of ketchup, sweet, tangy, and packed with flavor. Then the creamy mayonnaise takes this to new heights. The star of the show is the slices of raw onion, which give your sandwich a crunchy, flavorful kick you didn't know you needed. Try it before you judge it. It may sound strange, different, and even rebellious against your normal sub. The sandwich with ketchup, mayonnaise, and onion turned out to be quite popular among people who weren't afraid to try something new when it came to sandwiches. It showed the innovative spirit of those facing adversity, proving that even in the difficult times, a simple sandwich could become a gastronomic discovery. So why not try this unusual sandwich if you're feeling daring and curious? Perhaps you will find a hidden gem that is greater than its simple ingredients. Number 17, Prune Pudding. Let's now turn our attention to the dessert aspect of the Great Depression and introduce prune pudding. The delicacy known as prune pudding defies expectations by transforming the humble prune into a quirky blend of sweet and fibrous goodness. During the Great Depression, when sugar and decadent ingredients were as scarce as a winning lottery ticket, innovative cooks found other ways to satisfy their sweet cravings. This is where prune pudding enters into the picture, a dessert born out of necessity rather than choice. It was a time when people had to make do with what they had, and prunes, with their natural sweetness and sticky texture, became heroes of the dessert table. Consider having a dish full of surprises. Perfectly softened prunes are combined with a mixture of common pantry ingredients, such as sugar, flour, and sometimes a dash of cinnamon. The result? A unique dessert that balanced sweet satisfaction and fibrous integrity. Despite its not typical ingredients, prune pudding offered a surprisingly rich and comforting flavor. The prunes, once dried, contributed a natural sweetness that, when combined with the cinnamon, created a blend of taste that lingered in the mouth. It was a dessert that spoke to the resourcefulness of the times, proving that even in the absence of some ingredients, innovative cooking could still deliver a satisfying and somewhat unexpected treat. Why not try making prune pudding in your own kitchen if you're feeling adventurous and want to take a delightful trip down memory lane? Beyond its modest beginnings, this dish offers a flavor of the past and glimpse into the innovative minds of individuals who turn scarcity into sweetness. Prune pudding is how necessity meets indulgence in the most surprising and unexpectedly delicious ways. Number 16, Dandelion Salad. Now the dandelion salad, the pesky weed that became a leafy green treat that might rival even the fanciest arugula salads of today, thanks to the efforts of enterprising people. Here is a world where fresh produce was a luxury, and families had to get creative with whatever nature provided. In this time of scarcity, dandelions, often considered backyard pests, became an unexpected source of nutrition and flavor. It was a time when every leaf counted and cooking creativity reached new heights. What exactly went into the Great Depression masterpiece? Dandelion salad was a simple yet ingenious creation. Gathered dandelion greens, known for their slightly bitter taste, were paired with whatever ingredients were available. Perhaps a splash of vinegar, a drizzle of oil, and maybe even a sprinkle of salt and pepper. Despite its humble origins, dandelion salad offered a refreshing and surprisingly complex flavor profile. The bitterness of the dandelion greens were tempered by the sourness of vinegar, resulting in a symphony of flavors that showcased the ingenuity of those who turned a backyard nuisance into a delectable dish. Who needs fancy arugula when you've got dandelions bringing a touch of wild elegance to your plate? It's a dish that not only brings you back in time, but also challenges your palate to appreciate the different flavors that can come from the simplest of ingredients. So toss aside those prepackaged greens and embrace the wild charm of dandelions in your salad bowl. Number 15, peanut butter stuffed onions. Are you ready for a gourmet twist that may have you scratching your head? Peanut butter stuffed onions. You heard it right. Some smart minds took a common onion and transformed it into an unusual combination for delicious peanut butter during the Great Depression, a time when culinary inventiveness had no boundaries. It's the kind of bizarre invention that not only draws attention, but also demonstrates the incredible creativity that comes from need. Just think of yourself at a kitchen table with a few onions, a peanut butter jar, and an adventurous spirit when it comes to cooking. Peanut butter stuffed onions originated as a result of families figuring out how to make appetizing meals while dealing with a lack of resources. It may sound strange, it is, but desperation has a funny way of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. How did this peculiar combination come to be? You have an onion, its skin peeled back, and filled to the brim with creamy, nutty peanut butter. It's a flavor infusion that walks the border between the recognizable and obviously uncommon, with the rich, velvety texture of the peanut butter blending with the pungent notes of the onion. Before you dismiss it as weird, consider the situation. The Great Depression era forced families to stretch their imagination and make the most out of whatever ingredients were available. Peanut butter stuffed onions might seem like an odd pairing. Still, as far as culinary ingenuity goes, they were an embodiment of the human spirit's capacity to find joy in the midst of hardship. While it may not become the next viral food trend, peanut butter stuffed onions deserve recognition for their contribution to the cooking staging of the Great Depression. So why not give it a try? You might just discover a newfound appreciation for the unusual and a connection to the quick thinkers who turned onions into vessels of peanutty delight during challenging times. Number 14. Egg drop soup. Let's move on to a recipe that not only withstood the test of time, but has also proven that simplicity can be the key to culinary perfection. Egg drop soup. This classic comfort dish emerged as a savior during the Great Depression, where making the best out of limited ingredients was not just a skill, but a necessity. Think about a kitchen where, due to financial difficulties, every ingredient mattered, and ingenuity had to be the main course. The result is egg drop soup, a simple but filling recipe that turned a few basic ingredients into a comforting bowl of warmth. The base of egg drop soup is as simple as it gets: a clear broth, seasoned with a dash of soy sauce and a hint of ginger, but the magic happens when you mix the beaten eggs. As they're gently poured into the simmering broth, they create delicate, silky ribbons that dance through the liquid, turning it into a texture-rich soup. Egg drop soup's ease of preparation made it possible for families to stretch their meager resources without sacrificing taste or nourishment. Egg drop soup sprang to prominence as a culinary hero, bringing coziness, comfort, and a hint of class to the dinner table, in a society where elaborate dishes were considered a luxury. It not only made it through the Great Depression, but is still a staple in restaurants across the globe, serving as a constant reminder that often the simplest dishes can create the greatest sense of pleasure. Therefore, honor the persevering chefs of the past, who turned the humble egg to a symbol of culinary ingenuity the next time you have a bowl of egg drop soup. Number 13. Vinegar Pie. Moving on, let's now look into the surprising flavorful world of vinegar pie while indulging our sweet tastes and traveling back in time to the Great Depression. Indeed, you heard it correctly, vinegar pie. A wonderful example of how clever minds can turn scarcity into sweetness is this dish, which shows that sometimes the most unlikely ingredients can work together to create a culinary delight. During a period when sugar, an essential ingredient in traditional pie recipes, was a scarce commodity, home cooks were forced to look beyond the pie crust. The remedy proved to be a delectable vinegar pie, proving that little acidity may bring a basic dish to new dimensions. A simple pie crust serves as the starting point for making vinegar pie, an unexpected treat. Next is a clever filling, which is a concoction of common items like sugar, flour, eggs, and vinegar. When these seemingly commonplace ingredients combine to create a sweet and tangy symphony that will make your taste buds perk up, that's when the magic happens. Don't be misled by the name into believing this is a joke about food. A tribute to the brilliance of the era, vinegar pie shows how imaginative cooks used what little was available to them to fulfill their sweet tooths. In addition to adding a distinctive flavor, the vinegar worked as a cheap substitute to the citrus that is frequently used in traditional pies. The next time you're in the mood for a slice of history and a surprising burst of flavor, consider giving vinegar pie a place at your table. It serves as a reminder that even in trying circumstances, a little imagination in the kitchen can transform basic ingredients into a pie that is truly delicious. Let's toast to the tart and sweet success of Vinegar Pie. Number 12. Hoover Stew. Take a closer look at Hoover Stew, a recipe that not only reflects the quality of its components, but also the longings of a country. Named after President Herbert Hoover's name, this hearty concoction was more than just a meal to eat during the Great Depression. It was a lowly pot filled with staples and a hint of optimism for better days ahead. Try cooking in a kitchen during the Great Depression, when imagination was the key factor in every meal and every food scrap mattered. Making the most of what little was available was the goal of Hoover Stew, not splurging. Beans, veggies, and possibly a dash of flavorful broth served as the foundation for a stew that bonded families around a shared dinner table. The name Hoover Stew itself reflected the spirit of the times, acknowledging the challenges faced by a nation and a president determined to weather the storm. It was a dish that rose above its ingredients, embodying the resilience of communities across the country. The specifics of Hoover Stew differed from kitchen to kitchen, but the fundamentals, simplicity, nourishment, and a shared belief in a better tomorrow stayed the same. Families gathered around the pot for more than just a meal, since it was a symbol of unity and a collective statement that strength could be found in solidarity, even under the most trying circumstances. Thus, as we explore the pages of culinary history, let us honor Hoover Stew, a dish that nourished both body and spirit during the Great Depression. It was more than simply food. It was a hint of hope, a reminder that even in the darkest times, a shared meal could light the way to better days ahead. Number 11. Mock Apple Pie. Go and visit the fascinating world of mock apple pie, a dish that originated during the Great Depression out of need. When apples were in short supply, sharp minds in the kitchen turned to a surprising alternative: crackers. Crackers proved to be the surprise heroes, transforming into a crunchy, appleless pie, showcasing the ingenuity of those sailing through tough times. Think of a kitchen filled with aromas of sugar and cinnamon, as bakers tried to replicate the flavor of apple pie without using the main ingredient. The crackers, typically associated with yummy snacks, were repurposed as a crumbly, crispy substitute for apples. When combined with a flavorful mixture of sugar, cinnamon, and probably a touch of lemon for that fruity tang, the crackers underwent a magical transformation. The result was a pie that looked and tasted remarkably like its traditional counterpart, proving that necessity truly is the mother of invention. Families gathered around the table to enjoy the unexpected treat of mock apple pie, their taste buds oblivious to the apple shortage. Mock apple pie not only satisfied the sweet cravings of the era, but also showcased the resilience of individuals who refused to let scarcity dampen their spirit. It became a symbol of making the best out of what you had, turning a seemingly everyday ingredient into a dessert that captured the essence of apple pie magic. Number 10. Mulligan Stew seasoned with tobacco. Keep your taste buds ready. Mulligan Stew seasoned with tobacco is not for the faint of heart. The Great Depression-era dish was a divine mixture of strange ingredients that showed how far people would go to stretch their limited resources and spice up their meals. In a time when every ounce of flavor mattered, cooks turned to non-traditional seasonings to elevate their dishes. Mulligans of the capability of the times, where necessity prompted cooks to think outside the spice rack and improvise with what they had. Number 9. Milk Orno. Together, milk and cornmeal created a recipe that turned the ordinary into a hearty breakfast treat known as McOrno. Come along for a stroll down this unusual breakfast aisle of Great Depression cleverness. Families had to use their cooking skills to stretch whatever resources they had during the challenging Great Depression years. Presenting Milk Orno, an unusual porridge that evolved from the need for a filling but enjoyable breakfast choice. Consider a warm, comfortable dish of cornmeal that has been patiently cooked to a creamy perfection in milk. It's an original and resilient mixture of elements that shows what can be accomplished when faced with adversity. Milk Orno bears a resemblance to the more modern breakfast favorite polenta, with its smooth, creamy texture and warm, comforting taste. But what really makes it special is the period in which it was made, when every piece had value and skill was essential. The morning meal came to symbolize the resilience of the human spirit in the face of shortage, its ability to find fulfillment and sustenance. Number 8, cream chip beef. Now let's look into the flavorful elegance of cream chip beef. A recipe created during the Great Depression is a good example of how to elevate simple ingredients into a mouth-watering dish. Remember a time when sumptuous meals were saved for important events, and the cook had to be smart in making do with what was on hand? Let me introduce you to cream chip beef, a meal that took dried and chipped beef, perhaps not the most beautiful source of protein, and turned it into something grand. To restore its flavorful aroma, the dried beef is first carefully rehydrated. Then it is mixed with a rich and velvety sauce, which is a blend of simple ingredients such as flour, butter, and milk. This smooth slurry covers the steak, producing an explosion of rich texture that appeals to the senses. Cream chip beef's ability to transform a potentially boring protein into a dish that seems decadent is what really sets it apart. It's an homage to the talent of those enduring the hardships of the Great Depression, proving that culinary ingenuity may succeed even during lean times. As the family gathered around their table to enjoy the richness of cream chip beef, think of the aroma filling the kitchens. The dish proves that enjoyment doesn't always have to come with a high price tag, while providing both nutrition and an elegant finishing touch to the dinner table. Cream chip beef is more than simply a dish. It's a culinary adventure that serves as a reminder of the joy found in simplicity and the capacity to uplift what is ordinary. Number 7, popcorn milk. Hold on to your popcorn bowls because we're about to dive into the surprising world of popcorn with milk. The quirky snack from the Great Depression era brings together the timeless duo of popcorn and milk, blurring the lines between sweet and flavorful in a way that's both daring and surprisingly delightful. As we prepare to explore the surprising world of popcorn with milk, hold on to your popcorn bowls. Yes, you read correctly. This peculiar treat from the Great Depression era combines the ageless pairing of popcorn and milk, daringly straddling the lines between savory and sweet flavors in a surprisingly enjoyable way. In a time when inventive minds in the kitchen were challenged to make the most of staple ingredients, popcorn with milk emerged as a snack that defied traditional flavor standards. Think of a bowl filled with freshly popped corn, still warm and crispy, now generously bathed in a pool of milk. It's a mixture of textures and tastes, where the saltiness of the popcorn meets the creaminess of the milk, creating a harmony that's both comforting and unexpected. The unexpected combination did more than just satisfy appetites. It was an example of how clever people might be when coming up with fresh approaches to highlight basic elements. An inexpensive and simple snack, popcorn became a canvas and became a delightful, salty, and sweet treat that delighted a lot of people. As families gathered around munching on their popcorn with milk, it became a moment of shared delight, a departure from the conventional snacks of the time. It wasn't just about the flavors because it was also about the experience, the joy of turning the ordinary into the extraordinary. Number 6, garbage plate. Settle down for a taste exploration that will take you on a journey through the garbage plate. This recipe, despite its unappetizing name, is a marvel of genius that turns leftovers into a flavorful symphony that will make your palates happy. Here's a plate that defies conventional dining norms, where every leftover bit finds its place in a glorious mashup. It's a feast for the eyes, a visual feast of flavors that challenges the very definition of a well-planned meal. From last night's mashed potatoes to what is left of that stir-fry, the garbage plate invites a bit of everything to the party. This creation is more than just a meal. It's a gastronomic adventure that pays homage to the spirit of making most of what's on hand. It's a true reflection of the Great Depression era, where wasting food was not an option, and every leftover found a second chance on the garbage plate. The beauty of this dish lies in its unpredictability. One day it might be loaded with pasta, the next day with bits of meatloaf, and perhaps a side of veggies that refuse to be left out. The garbage plate is a work of culinary mayhem, a testament to creativity born out of necessity. Number 5, Creamy beef fondue. Get ready to dip into the delicious details of creamy beef fondue, a surprising addition to the Great Depression cuisine that turned fondue into a popular social activity. Fondue is typically thought of as something for fancy restaurants, but creamy beef fondue defied convention by making the fun activity of sharing dips available to everyone. During a period of severe financial difficulties, creative chefs managed to transform cheap slices of meat into a flavorful, creamy masterpiece. The image of a table laden with a simmering pot of delicious food, surrounded by friends and family eager to sample the latest gourmet creation. Creamy beef fondue was more than simply a dish. It was an occasion that united people and turned a routine supper into a joyful shared experience. The dish typically featured budget-friendly cuts of beef, thinly sliced to ensure quick and even cooking. These slices were then plunged into a luscious, creamy sauce, adding a layer of richness to every bite. The communal nature of fondue made it a perfect fit for families and friends looking to get a taste of a comforting, interactive meal during challenging times. Flavors blended and conversations flowed as you dipped the beef into the velvety mixture. Creamy beef fondue served as a reminder that happiness could still be shared at the dinner table, even in the face of suffering. It honored the simplistic nature of ingredients, transforming a budget-friendly option into a gastronomic delight that exceeded the limitations of time. Number 4, coffee soup. Take a sip and discover an unusual culinary delight with the intriguing coffee soup, a Great Depression invention that turned the morning coffee habit into a filling and tasty meal. Suppose a kitchen where ingenious cooks looked for ways to maximize the use of every drop of coffee. Coffee soup was a clever idea that changed the game from the typical cup of joe and made this popular beverage into a filling meal. During that period, all ingredients had to have two functions, and coffee, with its strong flavor and cozy warmth, took center stage on the breakfast table, as well as in soup recipes. Coffee soup was more than a simple fusion. It was an experiment that turned the daily caffeine fix into a satisfying meal. The preparation typically involved infusing coffee with a variety of hearty ingredients, perhaps grains, vegetables, or even leftover bits of meat. The result was a delicious concoction that raised coffee beyond its liquid form. You were enjoying more than just a drink as you sipped on your coffee soup. You were taking part in a distinctive eating experience that captured the resolute spirit of the Great Depression. The meal was an example that, with a little imagination, even the most basic items might be elevated to remarkable levels. Hence, the next time you grab your morning coffee, consider the great cooks of the past who transformed this everyday staple into a mealtime adventure. Coffee soup gave the simple act of drinking your coffee a whole new, hearty meaning, and the distinction between sipping and slurping took on a whole new hearty meaning. Number 3, Meatless Meatloaf. Get ready to experience an unexpected twist on a traditional comfort food when you try the novel Meatless Meatloaf. This recipe, which was created out of need during the Great Depression, honors the fortitude of our forefathers who overcame the difficulties of scarcity. In a time when meat was a luxury and plant-based alternatives were not as widely available as they are today, gifted minds in the kitchen discovered a way to craft a meatloaf without the traditional centerpiece, meat. Imagine a kitchen where families determined to bring warmth and flavor to their tables turned to simple, plant-based ingredients. Meatless Meatloaf began with a base of hearty staples like lentils, beans, or even oats, providing the texture and substance reminiscent of traditional meatloaf. Ingenious cooks seasoned the mixture with an array of spices, ensuring a heavenly flavor profile that rivaled its meat-filled counterpart. The final product was a plant-based marvel that not only satisfied the cravings for a comforting meatloaf, but also proved that innovation could thrive even when lacking ingredients. Meatless Meatloaf came to represent adaptability, tastefully acknowledged the innovative flair of those who tried to make familiar dishes with whatever was available. So the next time you go for a slice of Meatless Meatloaf, appreciate the culinary pioneers who, in the midst of challenging times, discovered a way to reimagine a classic comfort food. Number 2, Snapping Turtle Soup. Buckle up, food enthusiasts, because we're about to dive into the intriguing world of snapping turtle soup. a daring and adventurous choice that showcases the culinary audacity of the Great Depression era. In times of scarcity, when every available resource was cherished, these awesome minds in the kitchen turned to unorthodox protein sources, and snapping turtles found their way into the soup pot. Consider a kitchen where inventiveness and tenacity coexisted, where clever chefs regarding a snapping turtle as more than simply an aquatic animal, but also as a possible component of a flavorful soup. Snapping turtle soup served as an evidence that nothing, not even a reptile treat, would go to waste in hard times. The preparation likely involved a meticulous process of cleaning and preparing the snapping turtle, extracting every bit of flavor from this surprising protein choice. The result was a flavorful soup, rich in depth and character, with a distinctive taste of snapping turtle adding a unique touch to the broth. For the adventurous eaters of the Great Depression, snapping turtle soup became a culinary feat, a departure from traditional protein sources. It symbolized a spirit of brevity and a determination to find sustenance even in the most strangest places. Number 1. Roadkill. Now fasten your seatbelts, because we're going to go into the adventurous and contentious world of roadkill, a dish that perfectly captures the extent people went to in order to put food on the table during the Great Depression. In an era marked by economic hardship, where every meal required ingenuity and resourcefulness, some individuals turned to the open road for an offbeat source of protein. Roadkill became an unexpected and controversial